Hey YouTube, how's it going? Thomas here. I wanted to give you guys my opinion today regarding the TSA, also known as Trans Security Administration. The TSA is part of the Department of Homeland Security, and they were established after 9/11 and whatnot. And I really think the TSA is a joke. And my personal opinion, I think airport security really just does suck in this country. And here recently, there was all this argument that came out. The TSA wanted to allow pocket knives on airplanes after 9/11, which I think was ridiculous. I mean, just ignorance, stupidity on the administrations we have now after all this political oppositions from both sides of the aisle. They're like, nope, we're not going to allow pocket knives on the planes. Which, I mean, in my opinion, makes sense. Now, as far as the full body scans and all this kind of stuff goes at America's airports, I think it's a joke. I think it's stupid. I think it's ignorant. I think that we need to just look at some logical reforms of the TSA. For one, I would like to see private airport security reintroduced into our airports. I think private security can perform great security at America's airports. I think that the federal government should not get rid of the TSA if we bring in private security, but I feel that we need to keep the TSA there to regulate the private security. The TSA needs to be a regulatory agency that regulates private airport security. Private security does the pat-downs, the scanning, all that kind of stuff, and then the TSA is there to enforce it to make sure that the agents and stuff, that the people there, the private security is doing their jobs right. And if somebody complains saying this person's doing his job wrong, this is inappropriate, well, the TSA steps in and then they perform the pat down, or they do their job, or they deal with it, you know. But private security doesn't have arrest power. The TSA should have arrest power to deal with this type of stuff at airports or any type of incidents, things like that. So we need to really just kind of get rid of the TSA out of America's airports, and we need to introduce private security, and then we need to have the TSA to supervise private airport security. Now, as far as airplane security goes, you know, we've, I think, introduced reinforced cockpit doors since 9/11, but I mean, I still hear stuff on the news, like Airbuses, like pilots coming out of their cockpit and they got trapped. I think there was one like pilot that got jammed in the bathroom or something on an Airbus, and it just, I mean, just stupid stuff. I mean, in my mind, when an airplane takes off, under absolutely no circumstance should, for any reason, the pilot or co-pilot come out of the cockpit. I don't care. They do not need to come out of the cockpit. There should be a bathroom in the cockpit. There should be equipment in the cockpit. There should be food in the cockpit. Everything that the pilots need should be in that cockpit. If they need to put beds in the cockpit so pilots can rest during long international flights, they need to have that. But the pilots do not need to be coming out of the cockpits, period. Because what happens if you open the cockpit door? Well, you know, somebody could get in and hijack the plane and crash it. You know, if it's a reinforced door, if the pilots open the door up and some guy jumps in the cockpit, throws the pilot out, slams the door shut and locks it, well, it's a reinforced door. How's anyone going to get back in the cockpit? You got the bad guys in the cockpit behind a reinforced door. I mean, does that not ring any bells? Does that not make any sense? I mean, these cockpit doors need to be shut, locked, secured, should never be opened during flight. I think other airport innovations that we can do to improve airport security is, you know, in airplane security and things like that, is we should put, like, in my mind, tear gas or pepper spray or something like that on airplanes. If there is a threat, a legitimate threat on a commercial aircraft, the pilot should have a switch up here, which is a switch of last resort. They flip that switch and boom. You know how you go to the dentist office, they put that laughing gas on your mask and they knock you out, you go right to sleep. Well, guess what? That airplane is a pressurized cabin. I say gas the entire cabin. Every passenger on board, if everybody passes out from a sleeping gas, those pilots can declare an emergency landing. They can come in, they open the hatch, law enforcement comes on the plane, they arrest the bad guys, everybody wakes up a couple hours later. You know, that's how it should be. You should have that type of system in place. And I think if the private sector would step in, we could do things like that. We could put sleeping gas on the planes. We could have pepper spray through like a sprinkler system outside the cockpit door. Somebody's trying to force their way in that cockpit door. The pilots reach up, pull a lever, whoosh, it just sprays down. Anyone within that area of that cockpit door is going to get pepper sprayed. If they're trying to break down the door, or they're banging on it, or they're wanting in that cockpit, pilots can pepper spray them. I think keeping something as simple as duct tape on a commercial aircraft, and it's just like a fire extinguisher on the wall. You have like a fire extinguisher on the wall. Well, guess what? You got duct tape on the wall. In case of an emergency or terrorist attack, use duct tape. You know, tie them up. NASA has it in their handbooks. Have you not read the NASA handbooks where if an astronaut goes crazy, NASA's protocol procedure is you take duct tape and you tap the rogue astronaut? I mean, seriously, that's what NASA come up with. It's like, just tie them up with duct tape. Why don't we put duct tape on commercial flights? So if somebody goes crazy, well, you tie them up with some duct tape. I mean, I don't think declaring an emergency landing and landing a plane, regarding how combative a passenger is. I mean, you've had women get drunk and planes have went in for emergency landings. I don't think a plane should ever land. Once a plane's in the air, if it's going to LA from New York and there's a passenger up there carrying on, screaming, yelling, tie them up, duct tape them, tie them up, put a gag around their mouth, gag them, let them lay on the floor and stuff, kicking and screaming. I mean, they're tied up, they're gagged, they're not going to be yelling very loud. I mean, go on to your destination. Then whenever the plane lands, you don't have police come on there and carry them off. I mean, that's just how I think. And some people will be like, you're insane. Well, if that's what you think, you go ahead and comment it down in the video. But I'm going to be honest. I think that we need to reform the TSA. I think we need duct tape on planes. I think we need like pepper spray behind the cockpit doors. I don't think the pilots need to come out. I think we need to privatize airport security. I think that we need to have the TSA officers there to regulate and enforce private security to make sure private security does what it does. I don't think we need full body scans. I think that's a joke. I think we need just basic metal detectors at America's airports so people walk through it, just straightforward, metal detectors. And I think because on September 11th, 2001, let me remind you guys something. Not one American citizen hijacked an airplane. It was all foreigners. It was all terrorists. They were not American citizens. So what does that tell you? This is what it tells me. It tells me that when you go to America's airports, that you should take a valid U.S. passport through airport security. You show a U.S. passport to airport security and say that you're an American citizen. They walk you through the metal detector. You ain't got no metal on you, you're allowed to board your airplane. If you do not have a valid U.S. passport, you're going to walk through a metal detector, you're going to walk through a full body scanner, and then they're going to stick their hands down your pants and they're going to grope you under the current TSA policy because you're not an American citizen. You're not a citizen of the United States. If you're a foreigner, if you're a suspected terrorist, anything like that, if you're a foreigner or anything like that, you need to go through the full pat down. If you're a suspected terrorist or you're coming from a country where terrorists originate from, guess what? You're getting a full pat down. You're going through the full body scan. You're getting a metal detector. But if you're an American citizen, you do not need a full pat down, in my opinion. You just need to walk straight through that metal detector, and that's it. You go through the metal detector. You don't get a pat down. And if you do get a pat down, it needs to be of the area effective. So if your left leg, if you have a metal plate or something in your leg and that sets off the metal detector, well, you know what? You're getting a pat down on your left leg. You don't need a full body pat down. I mean, if the pat down's going off in your left ankle or something because you got pins or something in your ankle and that's setting off the metal detector, I mean, why does the TSA officer or the private security officer need to be sticking his hand down your pants? That's not even the area where there's metal. The metal is down next to your ankle. So just simple things like that, simple solutions, just common sense airport security is what I think we need to do to reform the TSA and to make America's airport security work once again. Thank you for watching. Please comment below.